In my first life, I believed in family. I believed that blood was a bond, a promise of safety you didn't have to earn. That was my mistake. 10 years ago, my first attempt at a business, a small floral shop, withered and died. I lost everything, humiliated and 1 month from eviction. I went to my older siblings, Derek and Victoria. They were already successful, Derek in finance, Victoria with her growing social influence. I remember sitting at their gleaming mahogany dining table, the scent of their expensive dinner still lingering in the air as I begged for a loan. They listened with performative sympathy, then lectured me for an hour about responsibility and poor planning. Finally, Victoria, with a sigh that suggested my failure was a personal burden to her, slid a single, crisp $20 bill across the table. "For the bus," she'd said, her smile tight with pity. "Go figure it out." Derek just nodded, his expression unreadable. That was the sum of their compassion. $20. It was the most important money I ever received because it taught me my life's most valuable lesson. I was completely, utterly on my own. That night, the naive girl who believed in the fairy tale of family died. In her place, a different woman was born, one who saved every penny, trusted only herself, and built a wall of financial security around her heart. It was that woman who, 9.5 years later, had saved $85,000. And it was that woman who, 6 months ago, they managed to kill all over again. They came to me with fabricated tears and a story of our mother needing emergency heart surgery. They knew I loved our mother more than anything. They knew I had the money. And I, forgetting the lesson of that $20 bill for one fatal moment, gave them everything. The first Maya died of shame. The second died of betrayal. The third Maya, the one they created in the wreckage, was the one they would come to fear. She remembered everything, especially the $20. The flimsy paper feels heavy enough to break my wrist. It's taped to my apartment door, an ugly orange rectangle screaming at me in bold black letters. Eviction notice. My hands are trembling, not from fear, but from a rage so cold and pure, it feels like ice water flooding my veins. From the street below, the low, arrogant purr of a Porsche engine fades into the distance. Derek's Porsche, the one I saw him preening over on social media just last week, all smug smiles and designer sunglasses. The one he bought 6 months ago, days after cashing the check I wrote him from my life savings. A metallic taste, sharp and bitter, floods my mouth. Betrayal. It tastes like rust and tears. I force myself to read the words on the notice again, my eyes tracing the cruel finality of the language. The occupant, Maya Chen, has failed to remit payment. All personal effects must be removed from the premises within 72 hours. 72 hours. 3 days to watch the life I painstakingly built, penny by agonizing penny, get dismantled and thrown onto the curb. The apartment isn't grand, but it's mine. The oversized armchair by the window where I read on Sunday mornings. The small balcony where my tomato plants are just starting to fruit. The walls I painted myself in a shade of pale gray that felt like peace. All of it about to be erased. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a venomous little vibration against my thigh. I already know who it is. I pull it out and the screen glows with a message from Victoria. "Hope you learned your lesson about trusting family." The nail polish emoji is a tiny digital stiletto twisting in the wound. They aren't just stealing from me, they are gloating. They are celebrating my destruction. For a moment, the icy rage cracks, and a wave of raw, desolate grief washes over me. I lean my forehead against the cool wood of the door, the eviction notice crinkling under my touch. This is what it feels like to have nothing. To be nothing. The little sister. The naive mouse. The family piggy bank, smashed open and discarded. But then something else sparks to life in the hollowed-out space inside me. It's not hope. It's resolve. It's the ghost of that woman who took a $20 bill and turned it into a fortress. They knocked the fortress down, but they forgot I was the one who drew the blueprints. I know how to build, and I know how to tear things down. I push myself off the door and walk back inside, my movements stiff and deliberate. 72 hours. My mind starts to work, the gears grinding past the pain and locking into a cold, clear logic. The courthouse closes at 5 p.m. on weekdays. Today is Tuesday. That gives me, tomorrow, one full business day. One last desperate chance to file an emergency fraud claim that could stop this. It's a long shot, a prayer whispered into a hurricane, but it's the only shot I have. I sit down at my small kitchen table, the eviction notice laid out before me like a declaration of war. I open my phone, my fingers no longer trembling but moving with swift, precise purpose. I scroll back 6 months. I find the text chain. Me. How's mom recovering? Let me know if you need anything at all. Derek. She's weak but stable. Thanks, Maya. You're a lifesaver. I screenshot it. I scroll further. Me. Thinking of you guys. Sending love to mom. Any update on the insurance? No rush. Just checking in. Victoria. It's complicated, hun. Just focus on your own stuff. We'll handle it. Screenshot. I keep going, my thumb flying across the screen, capturing a digital timeline of their deceit. Every gentle inquiry from me met with a vague, dismissive response. Every lie they told, preserved in pixels. Then, the centerpiece. I open my banking app and find the transfer confirmation, dated 6 months and 4 days ago. Amount, $85,000. Recipient, Derek Morrison. Memo, for mom's surgery. I screenshot it and email the image to myself, the subject line a simple, brutal promise. Reckoning. They thought I would crumble. They thought I would cry and accept my fate. Another lesson learned at their hands. They thought the Maya they knew would just fade away. They were right about one thing. She is gone. But they have no idea who they've put in her place. They saw me as a mouse. They forgot that a cornered mouse will always, always bite. And I have 71 hours left to bare my teeth. The polished marble floors of Morrison Investment Group reflect a distorted version of me back. A small, determined figure walking into the lion's den. It's 8 a.m. sharp. The air is thick with the scent of ambition and expensive coffee. A sleek receptionist in a headset looks up, her professionally pleasant smile faltering as I stride past her desk without breaking my pace. Ma'am, can I help you? Do you have an appointment? She calls after me, her voice rising with a hint of panic. I ignore her. I know exactly where I'm going. Derek's office is at the far end of the floor, a glass-walled monument to his own perceived genius. I can see him inside, leaning back in his chair, laughing with 2 of his sycophantic colleagues. He's holding a golf putter, a toy for a man who has never done a day of real work in his life. I push the heavy glass door open. It swings inward with a soft whoosh that seems to suck all the sound out of the room. The laughter cuts off. 3 heads swivel towards me. Derek's smile evaporates, replaced by a flicker of confusion, then annoyance, and finally, a sliver of well-hidden fear. Maya, what are you doing here? He says, standing up, his voice a low, warning growl. He takes a step toward me, clearly intending to usher me out before I can make a scene. Too late. I want my $85,000 back, Derek, I say. My voice is steady, and I pitch it just loud enough to carry through the open door and into the bullpen of desks beyond. Now. A few heads pop up over their computer monitors, the whispering starts almost immediately. Derek's face flushes a deep, ugly red. This isn't the time or the place for this, he hisses, grabbing my elbow. His grip is surprisingly strong. We can talk about this later. I don't move. I plant my feet. We can talk about it right now. Or we can talk about it with the police. Your choice. His colleagues are frozen, watching the drama unfold with wide, predatory eyes. They look like sharks that have just scented blood in the water. You're being hysterical, Derek says, trying to regain control. He releases my arm and adopts a tone of strained patience, as if dealing with a difficult child. It was an investment, Maya. I told you that. No, I say, shaking my head slowly. You didn't. You told me our mother was dying. I let the words hang in the air, each one a stone thrown at the glass house of his reputation. You said it was for her heart surgery, Derek. He flinches. It's a small, almost imperceptible movement, but I see it. His eyes dart toward his colleagues, who are now staring at him with a new kind of intensity. That was a misunderstanding, he stammers, the lie sounding weak and pathetic, even to his own ears. Business is complicated. You wouldn't understand. I understand that you took my life savings, I say, my voice rising slightly, cutting through his pathetic excuses. I understand you bought a new car while I was getting an eviction notice. I understand everything perfectly. He looks cornered now, his glib charm utterly failing him. He opens his mouth, then closes it. He has nothing. No defense, no explanation that doesn't incriminate him further. This is what I came for, not the money. I knew he wouldn't just hand it over. I came for this, to see the panic in his eyes, to strip away the carefully constructed facade in front of the people whose respect he craves. I have the security footage, you know. I lie, the idea blooming in my mind, fully formed. I'm gambling, but his reaction will tell me if I've hit the jackpot. From this very office, the day you and Victoria came in here after you got the money, the day you coached her on what to say if I asked questions, the day you decided how to split it. His blood drains from his face. It's not just a flicker of fear anymore, it's stark, naked terror. He looks at me as if he's seeing a ghost. He believes me, which means the footage is real. It exists. I just have to find it. Get out, he finally chokes out, pointing a trembling finger at the door. Get out of my office, now. This isn't over, I say softly, my point made. I turn my back on him and walk out of the office. I can feel the weight of every stare in the room on me. I keep my head held high, my footsteps even and measured, even though my heart is hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I don't look back. I walk past the shell-shocked receptionist and out into the sterile, silent elevator lobby. The moment the elevator doors slide shut, I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. My legs feel weak, and I have to grip the handrail to keep from collapsing. The confrontation gave me a small, savage thrill of victory, but it also drained every ounce of adrenaline from my body. I check my phone. 47 hours remain, and I have no money, I have no lawyer, and I have no actual proof. Beyond a few text messages that his lawyers could easily dismiss as a family squabble, a loan gone bad. I have the knowledge that the security footage exists, but I have no way to get it. He called my bluff. Now I have to find a way to turn it into a winning hand. The clock is ticking, louder than ever. Victoria's salon, Elysian, is an exercise in minimalist opulence. White marble floors, brushed gold fixtures, and a single perfect orchid on the reception desk. The air smells of money, a cloying blend of expensive hair products, French perfume, and entitlement. My money. The sheer, blinding hypocrisy of it all threatens to choke me. I force it down, schooling my features into a mask of polite inquiry as I approach the front desk. Hi, I was hoping to book a consultation with Victoria, I ask the young woman at the desk, who looks like she was grown in a lab to be effortlessly beautiful. Of course, she's with a client right now, but you're welcome to wait, she says, gesturing towards a plush velvet seating area. Perfect, I say, giving her a small smile. I sit down, placing my purse on the cushion beside me. My phone, already recording audio, is nestled safely inside. This is a gamble. Victoria is vain and loves to hold court. If I'm lucky, she'll give me exactly what I need. 5 minutes later, I hear her voice, a musical peal of laughter that grates on my nerves. She's leading two older, immaculately dressed women towards the front, their hair coiffed into expensive, unnatural shapes. Honestly, it's a matter of management, Victoria is saying, her voice carrying easily across the hushed space. Some people just don't have the head for money. They're too emotional. One of the women nods sagely. You have to be ruthless in this world, dear. Exactly, Victoria agrees, preening under the validation. Take my little sister, for example. So sweet, but an absolute child when it comes to finances. Utterly naive. You have to guide people like that, practically manage their lives for them. It's for their own good, really. She'll thank me one day. The words, so casually cruel, so dripping with self-serving justification, are a direct hit. My hand clenches around my phone in my lap. I have it. It's more than I could have hoped for. A confession, wrapped in the guise of sisterly concern. Just as the women are leaving, the glass door chimes again. My blood runs cold. It's Derek. He must have called her, his voice a torrent of panic and rage, the second I left his office. His eyes scan the salon and lock on me. The fake charm is gone. His face is a thundercloud. He stalks over to me, grabbing my arm and pulling me up from the sofa. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he snarls, his voice low and menacing, trying to keep the scene contained. Victoria rushes over, her face a mask of confusion. "Derek, what's wrong?" "Your naive little sister just stormed my office and made a scene in front of my entire staff." He spits, not looking at her. His eyes are burning into mine. "I told you she was going to be a problem." I wrench my arm from his grasp. "The only problem here is you, Derek. You're a thief and a liar." "Drop it, Maya," he threatens, taking a step closer. He's using his height to try and intimidate me, looming over me. "I mean it. You keep this up and I will file a harassment charge against you so fast your head will spin. You'll be dealing with a restraining order, not an eviction." Victoria gasps, playing her part. "Derek, don't. She's our sister." "She stopped being my sister when she started making these ridiculous accusations." He shoots back. A cold calm settles over me. I'm not the scared girl in his office anymore. I have a piece of her confession in my pocket. I have the certainty of his guilt in my gut. "Maybe you should have thought twice before crossing someone who remembers every detail, every receipt, every witness," I say, my voice as sharp and cold as a shard of ice. He scoffs, a humorless, ugly sound. "You're bluffing. You've got nothing." "Try me," I challenge, holding his gaze. The mask slips. For a fraction of a second, I see the same raw panic I saw in his office. He and Victoria exchange a look, a near imperceptible glance that speaks volumes. It's a look of shared guilt, of a conspiracy suddenly threatened. "We'll destroy you," Victoria says, her voice dropping the saccharine sweetness and turning venomous. The speed of the transformation is dizzying. "Your reputation, your friendships, everything. We'll tell everyone you're unstable, that you've always been jealous of us. No one will believe a word you say." The air conditioning hums against my heated skin. The way she says "we," the look that passed between them. It all clicks into place with a sickening finality. This wasn't just Derek's idea, a desperate grab for cash that spiraled out of control. This was their idea, a joint venture. They sat down, probably at that same mahogany dining table, and planned my ruin. They weighed my love and my trust against a Porsche and a salon and found me wanting. They've been playing me for months, maybe years, seeing me not as a sister but as a resource to be exploited. I look from Derek's furious face to Victoria's reptilian stare, and I realize I'm not just fighting for my home or my money. I'm fighting against the crushing weight of their shared contempt, a contempt they've been hiding behind smiles and hollow words of affection my entire life. "You've already tried to destroy me," I say, my voice quiet but resonating with a strength that surprises even me. "You took my past. You took my savings. You're trying to take my future. But you can't have it. I won't let you." I turn and walk towards the door, leaving them standing there, frozen in their shared shock and fury. My hand is steady as I push the door open and step out into the bright, unforgiving sunlight. I check the time. 36 hours. The recording on my phone feels like a weapon. It's not enough to win the war, but it's enough to draw first blood. And I'm just getting started. The rage and adrenaline from the confrontations wear off, leaving behind a gnawing, desperate anxiety. I have Victoria's damning words on my phone, but a good lawyer could argue it was just gossip, inadmissible and taken out of context. I have the knowledge that Derek is scared of some security footage, but I have no way to get my hands on it. I'm back in my apartment, the walls seeming to close in, the 72-hour timer on the eviction notice, a constant, screaming presence in the back of my mind. I feel like I'm hitting a brick wall. I need a new angle. A crowbar to pry open the cracks I've made? I sit at my laptop and start digging. I don't know what I'm looking for, just something, anything, that can give me leverage. I search for Derek Morrison, Morrison Investment Group, and comb through business filings, old news articles, anything I can find. Most of it is corporate jargon and self-congratulatory press releases. But then I find it. a small article from a local business journal 2 years ago announcing the launch of Morrison Investment Group. It lists a co-founder, Liam Riley. A quick search for Liam's name brings up a sparse professional profile. He left Derek's company a year ago to start his own, much smaller consulting firm. Why would a co-founder leave a successful startup so soon? It's a long shot, but it's the only one I have. I find his email address and draft a message, my fingers flying across the keyboard. Subject, Derek Morrison. Mr. Riley, my name is Maya Chen. I am Derek Morrison's sister. I believe he may have defrauded me, and I have reason to suspect I am not the only one. If you are willing to speak with me, I would be extremely grateful. I believe we may have a common interest. I hit send, my heart pounding. I tell myself not to get my hopes up. He'll probably ignore it, delete it, or worse, forward it straight to Derek. But 10 minutes later, my phone buzzes. Coffee. 1 hour, the grind on 4th Street. Come alone. The coffee shop is small and discreet, tucked away on a quiet side street. Liam Riley is already there, sitting in a booth in the back corner. He's older than me, maybe late 30s, with tired eyes that seem to have seen too much. He doesn't look bitter, just weary. Thanks for meeting me, I say, sliding into the booth opposite him. I almost didn't come, he says, his voice quiet. I promised myself I was done with Derek and his messes. He takes a sip of his coffee. But then you used the word defrauded. That got my attention. He took $85,000 from me, I say, the words feeling blunt and ugly in the quiet coffee shop. He told me it was for our mother's surgery. Liam lets out a long, slow sigh. He closes his eyes for a moment, and when he opens them, the weariness has been replaced by a familiar, simmering anger. The sick mother, of course. That was his favorite. It's so clean, so unimpeachable. Who's going to question a man trying to save his dying mother? He looks me straight in the eye. He didn't just burn you, Maya. He used that same story on at least 3 other people that I know of. Small-time investors. A retired teacher. A young couple who just inherited some money. He took everything from them. The air leaves my lungs. This is bigger, darker than I ever imagined. It's not just a vicious family betrayal. It's a pattern. He's a predator. Why did you leave the company? I ask softly. I found out what he was doing, Liam says, his jaw tight. I confronted him. He laughed in my face. Told me I was weak, that I didn't have the stomach for real business. He'd structured the company so that I was liable for some of his deals, but had no real power to stop them. He was going to drag me down with him, so I got out. I took a loss, but I got out clean. He leans forward, his voice dropping. I also took some insurance. He reaches into his briefcase and pulls out a small silver USB drive. He slides it across the table. My hand trembles as I reach for it. What is this? It's everything, he says. Internal emails, copies of the fraudulent investment agreements he made with the other victims, and the complete security archives from his office for the past 2 years. Derek was too arrogant to ever delete anything. My heart stops. The footage of him and my sister, it's on here? If it happened in that office, it's on here, Liam confirms. He needs to be stopped, Maya. The authorities wouldn't listen to me. It was my word against his, a messy business divorce. But you, your family, a jury will believe you. Your case is the key to bringing the whole house of cards down. I clutch the USB drive, the cool metal a stark reality in my palm. It feels like a key, a weapon, a bomb. Thank you, I whisper, my voice thick with emotion. Don't thank me, he says, finishing his coffee. Just burn him to the ground. I practically run back to my apartment, my mind racing. This changes everything. This is no longer just about saving my home. It's about justice for the other people he ruined, the ones who didn't have a way to fight back. I plug the USB drive into my laptop. It's all there, file after file of his crimes. And there, in a folder dated 6 months ago, is the video. I click play. I watch Derek and Victoria enter his office, laughing. They clink champagne glasses. To the naive little mouse, Victoria says, raising her glass. May she always be generous. Derek kisses her. Think of all the shoes you can buy, babe. he says. I watch as they map out their lies, their alibis, what to say if I get suspicious. It's more cold-blooded and cruel than I could have imagined. I feel sick to my stomach, but I force myself to keep watching, to absorb every poisonous word. When it's over, I sit in silence for a long time. The eviction notice on my table seems small now, insignificant compared to the depth of their depravity. Then my phone buzzes. It's a calendar reminder. Victoria's wedding, 4 p.m. Of course, the wedding. The lavish, ostentatious $200,000 celebration of their love, funded by my stolen savings and the life savings of a retired schoolteacher. The ultimate symbol of their crimes. It's today. In 6 hours, I look at the files on my screen. I look at the wedding reminder. I could go to the police right now. I could hand this all over and let the slow, grinding wheels of justice turn. It would be the smart thing to do, the safe thing. But after what I've just seen, I don't feel smart or safe. I feel biblical. I want justice, yes. But I also want judgment. I want to rain fire down upon their perfectly curated world. An idea, terrible and wonderful, takes root. I open a browser and find their wedding website. It's filled with professionally shot photos of them looking sickeningly in love. And at the bottom, a link for guests to RSVP. I click it, and there it is, the complete guest list with emails for every single person attending. I create a new folder on a cloud sharing service. I drag every file from the USB drive into it, the video, the emails, the fraudulent contracts, the audio recording from the salon, every last piece of their downfall. I set the sharing permissions to public. Then I begin to compose an email. To the friends and family of Derek and Victoria, subject, what their love is built on. Before you celebrate their union today, I thought you might want to see the foundation upon which it is built. You may want to watch the enclosed video titled, To the Naive Little Mouse. I paste the link to the public folder. My finger hovers over the send button. This is the point of no return. This is lighting the match. I think of the $20. I think of the eviction notice. I think of the retired teacher. I press send. To every single one of them, the wedding is in 5 hours. The invitations have gone out. The apocalypse is scheduled for 4 p.m. The church is beautiful, a Gothic stone edifice with stained glass windows that glitter like jewels in the afternoon sun. Luxury cars line the street, disgorging guests in expensive suits and silk dresses. It's a perfect picture of wealth and happiness, a perfect stage for a demolition. I'm parked across the street, watching the scene unfold. A few minutes ago, the emails landed. I can see the effect rippling through the arriving crowd. People are stopping on the church steps, pulling out their phones. Their brows are furrowed in confusion, then their eyes widen in shock. Whispers start to spread like a virus. A woman in a large floral hat gasps and shows her phone to her husband, who looks horrified. The carefully constructed facade of the perfect wedding is beginning to crack. But I'm not just relying on emails. A moment later, my second strike arrives. A large banner truck, the kind used for mobile advertising, turns the corner and rumbles slowly down the street in front of the church. On its giant LED screen, glowing for all the world to see, is a slideshow of Derek and Victoria's most damning text messages, blown up to the size of a small car. The mouse fell for it. Easy money. Don't worry, mom's fine, LOL. Let's go shopping. Just got the keys to the Porsche. TX, little sis. The truck circles the block, a parade float of their treachery. Guests are openly staring now, their phones out recording. The whispers have become a horrified murmur. This is no longer a private scandal, it's a public spectacle. The heavy church doors burst open. It's Victoria. She's a vision in a cloud of white lace and tulle, a princess in her stolen castle. But her face is a gargoyle's mask of pure, unadulterated rage. She's holding her phone to her ear, and a second later, my own phone rings. I answer, putting it on speaker. You, she screeches, her voice a raw shriek that echoes down the street. You rotten little bitch, you've ruined everything. I watch her from the safety of my car, a queen surveying the ruins of her enemy's kingdom. No, Victoria, I say, my voice calm and even. You ruined everything when you decided I was disposable. When you decided a retired teacher's pension was your personal shopping fund. We're family, she wails, the last refuge of a scoundrel. It's a desperate, pathetic plea. Family doesn't steal from each other and laugh about it. I reply, my voice turning to ice. I can see Derek appear behind her now, his face ashen. He's trying to pull her back inside, away from the prying eyes and recording phones, but she's hysterical. "I'm going to kill you!" she screams into the phone. You know, I've been thinking a lot about family lately, I say, deciding it's time to deploy my final weapon. About our parents, about Dad's inheritance. There's a beat of stunned silence on the other end of the line. Speaking of which, Victoria, I continue, my voice silky smooth. Where is that inheritance? The one you told me years ago was a lost in bad investments? The money that was supposed to be split between the three of us. Her breath hitches. How did you know about that? She sputters, her voice barely a whisper. Liam sends his regards, I say sweetly. He was very thorough. He found the statements for the offshore account in the Cayman Islands. The one Derek so kindly helped you open right after Dad's estate was settled. How much is in there now, Victoria? 2 million? 3? She makes a choked, strangled sound. I can see her stumble, her hand going to her throat. Derek catches her, his own face a mask of disbelief and horror. He didn't know. This was her secret, her own private betrayal. It's a beautiful thing to watch, two vipers finally turning on each other. My other phone, a cheap burner I bought this morning, buzzes with a text. It's a number I don't recognize, but I know who it's from. Liam's contact. An assistant district attorney. Other victims have come forward. The evidence you provided is compelling. We can fast-track an emergency injunction to freeze all known assets, but we need a sworn witness statement from you. Can you be at the downtown courthouse by midnight tonight? The game has just been elevated to a whole new level. This is it, the path to a real, legal victory. I have to go, Victoria, I say into the phone. I have an appointment I can't miss. But you two enjoy the wedding. It looks like it's going to be a memorable one. I hang up before she can respond. I watch as Derek finally manages to drag his hysterical, sobbing bride back into the church, the heavy doors slamming shut behind them, sealing them in their own personal hell. The banner truck makes one final triumphant lap. I start my car. I have a sworn statement to give. The clock is ticking down, but for the first time, it feels like it's on my side. The courtroom is a sterile, fluorescent-lit box, smelling faintly of stale coffee and desperation. It's 11:30 p.m., but the room is packed. The news of the imploded wedding spread like wildfire. A handful of shell-shocked wedding guests, the ones whose business ties to Derek outweighed their personal embarrassment, are here. The other victims Liam contacted are sitting in a somber row, their faces a mixture of hope and fear. And in the back, a few reporters, tipped off by an anonymous source with a brand new burner phone, are scribbling furiously in their notebooks. At the defendant's table sit Derek and Victoria. The last time I saw her, she was in a designer wedding gown. Now she's in a crumpled pantsuit, her makeup streaked with tears, her face puffy and splotched. Derek looks like he's aged 10 years in the last 6 hours. They are flanked by two expensive-looking lawyers who are whispering furiously, their faces grim. They look like men who know they've been handed a losing case, but are contractually obligated to play it out. The judge, a stern-faced woman who looks like she's seen it all and is impressed by none of it, peers down from her bench. This is an emergency hearing for a temporary restraining order to freeze assets, petitioned by Miss Maya Chen against Mr. Derek Morrison and Miss Victoria Chen. Let's get on with it. I have a tea time at 7 a.m. She turns her gaze to me. Miss Chen, your petition claims fraud on multiple counts. Let's start with the first. Did you willingly invest in Mr. Morrison's business? I stand, my heart thrumming a steady, determined beat. No, Your Honor. I gave him an $85,000 loan. He told me his mother was dying and needed emergency surgery. Derek leaps to his feet. That's a lie. It was an investment. She knew the risks. Sit down and be quiet, Mr. Morrison, or I'll have you removed. The judge snaps without looking at him. Your lawyer can do the lying for you. That's what you're paying him for. The lawyer winces. I continue, my voice clear and unwavering. He assured me it was a loan, that he would pay it back as soon as their mother's insurance claim was processed. It was all a fabrication. Objection, Derek's lawyer says, standing up. Hearsay. She has no proof of Mr. Morrison's intent. On the contrary, I say, pulling out my phone and an audio adapter. I place it on the microphone stand. I have this. I play the recording from the salon. Victoria's voice fills the silent courtroom, clear as a bell. Take my little sister, for example. So sweet, but an absolute child when it comes to finances. Utterly naive. You have to guide people like that. Victoria lets out a small, wounded cry and shrinks down in her seat. Her lawyer is on his feet, sputtering. Your Honor, this is an illegal recording. It's entrapment. It's inadmissible. The judge holds up a hand. In this state, a recording is legal with one-party consent, counselor. And since Miss Chen was a party to the conversation, it's admissible. Sit down. She looks at me. Do you have anything else? I do, Your Honor. I nod to Liam, who is sitting in the front row. He stands and hands a USB drive to the bailiff, who passes it up to the judge. This contains the complete security footage from Mr. Morrison's office. I'd like to direct the court's attention to a video file dated 6 months ago. The judge plugs the drive into her monitor. The whole court watches as the video plays on the large screens mounted on the walls. Derek and Victoria clinking champagne glasses. To the naive little mouse. Their laughter, their cold, calculated planning. It's even more damning on a giant screen. Derek looks like he's going to be physically ill. And finally, Your Honor, I say, my voice ringing with a finality that feels like a closing door. I walk to the table and place a single sheet of paper in front of Derek. There's the matter of the original loan agreement. Derek stares at it. His face, if possible, goes even whiter. He thought it was just a piece of paper between siblings, a formality he signed to placate me. His lawyer picks it up, his eyes scanning it quickly. It's a simple promissory note, Your Honor, I explained to the judge. It outlines the loan amount and a basic promise of repayment. Derek's lawyer smirks. A promissory note for a loan between family? Your Honor, this is hardly a binding contract. I'm not finished, I interrupt, my eyes locked on Derek. He forgot about the fine print. I'm sure he thought I was too naive to include it. Or perhaps just too naive to ever enforce it. I turn back to the judge. There is a clause on the back, Your Honor. Standard language for a high-risk personal loan. In the event of a default based on proven fraudulent inducement, the full amount becomes due immediately with an accrued interest rate of 18% compounded daily from the date of the loan. A gasp ripples through the courtroom. Derek's lawyer drops the paper on the table as if it's on fire. He does the math in his head, and I can see the blood drain from his face. 18%, compounded daily on $85,000 for 6 months. It's a ruinous amount. The judge looks from the paper to me, and for the first time, a flicker of something that might be respect appears in her eyes. She doesn't hesitate. Petition granted, she says, her voice sharp as a gavel strike. A temporary restraining order is placed on all known assets of Mr. Morrison and Miss Chen, both personal and professional, including any and all offshore accounts, pending a full criminal investigation. Immediate restitution of the principal loan is ordered. The interest will be calculated and amended to the order. This hearing is adjourned. It's over. I won. A wave of lightheadedness washes over me as I watch them, broken and defeated, get swarmed by their lawyers. But as I'm walking out of the courtroom, a whirlwind of relief and exhaustion, I pass by Derek's table. One of his lawyers grabs his arm, his face pale and sweating. You absolute, unmitigated fool, the lawyer mutters, his voice a low, frantic hiss, just loud enough for me to overhear. The firm's assets are frozen, all of them. The operational accounts, everything. You know who our other investors are, you know whose money is in there. They are not going to be happy about this. Derek's exhausted expression morphs into one of dawning, abject terror. He looks at his lawyer, then at me, and I see a fear in his eyes that has nothing to do with judges or lawsuits. He wasn't just a fraud, he was a bagman. His investment firm wasn't just built on petty scams against his family. It was a front, a laundry for people far more dangerous than he could ever hope to be. And I just set their money on fire. The lawyer catches my eye. His lip curls into a sneer of pure contempt. Congratulations, Maya, he says, his voice dripping with venom. You just painted a target on all our backs. The victory in my veins turns to ice. I just won the battle, but I may have just started a war I have no idea how to fight. The lawyer's threat hung in the air for weeks, a toxic cloud that followed me everywhere. For a month, I looked over my shoulder, jumped at the sound of backfiring cars, and felt a jolt of fear every time an unfamiliar number flashed on my phone. But the target on my back turned out to be my greatest protection. The district attorney's office, armed with the evidence from Liam's USB drive and my testimony, didn't just go after Derek and Victoria for fraud. They opened a full-blown investigation into the money laundering ring that had been using Morrison Investment Group as its personal bank. Faced with decades in federal prison, my siblings sang like canaries. They gave up names, account numbers, and transaction records. One by one, their dangerous investors were rounded up, their criminal enterprise dismantled. Derek and Victoria's cooperation earned them a reduced sentence, but their lives, as they knew them, were over. In a strange twist of fate, by trying to destroy me, they had only managed to incinerate themselves. 6 months later, the fear has faded, replaced by a quiet, solid sense of peace. I'm sitting at a new kitchen table in a new house. It's a modest bungalow with a small garden out back, but it's mine. The deed, signed this morning, sits on the counter. It was paid for with the settlement money from the lawsuit, my original $85,000 plus an additional $255,000 in punitive damages and the crippling compounded interest. On the small television in the corner, a local news segment is playing. It shows Derek, looking tired and much older, clearing tables at a Greasy Spoon diner. He's working 3 jobs, the reporter says, to pay off his court-ordered restitution. Another story mentions Victoria, no longer a glamorous influencer, now selling term life insurance from a cramped cubicle in a shared office space. They are shadows of their former selves, paying their debts one miserable day at a time. I turn the TV off. Their story is over. Mine is just beginning. The naive girl they preyed upon is gone for good. In her place is a woman who understands the fine print, a woman who knows the difference between a liability and an asset. I've started my own business, a small consulting firm that helps victims of affinity fraud, people betrayed by those they trust most. My waiting list is already 6 months long. My first client is due in 10 minutes. The doorbell rings. I smooth down my blouse and walk to the door, expecting the timid elderly woman I spoke to on the phone yesterday. But it's not her. Standing on my porch, together, are Derek and Victoria. They look like ghosts. Their clothes are cheap, their faces etched with a desperation that's both raw and pathetic. They've lost everything. The money, the reputation, the friends. All they have left is the shared ruin they built for themselves. Maya, Derek says, his voice raspy. He can't meet my eyes. Victoria is the one who speaks, her voice thin and reedy, all its former venom gone. We have nothing, she says, tears welling in her eyes. They might even be real this time. We were evicted from our apartment. We have nowhere to go. Please, Maya. Just enough to get a room for a week. We're still your family. I look at them, these 2 strangers who share my blood, and I feel nothing. Not anger, not pity, not even the cold satisfaction of victory. Just a vast, quiet distance. The emotional debt has been paid in full. All that's left is the accounting. I hold up a single finger, asking them to wait and turn back into my house. I don't go to my safe. I don't go to my desk. I walk to the small ceramic dish on my entryway table where I toss my spare change. I reach into my wallet and pull out a single crisp bill. I walk back to the door and hold it out to them. They stare at the $20 bill, their faces a canvas of confusion. What's this? Victoria asks, her voice a bewildered whisper. It's the exact sum you gave me when I had nothing, I say, my voice devoid of all emotion. It was all the help you decided I deserved, the sum total of your compassion. I look from her face to Derek's, ensuring they understand. And now it's all the help I have for you. I place the $20 bill in Victoria's limp hand. For the bus, I say softly. Go figure it out. I close the door on their shocked, uncomprehending faces, the quiet click of the lock the most satisfying sound I have ever heard. Some debts compound daily in ways no ledger can ever track. Mine is finally paid. I have a client to meet. I have a life to build.